Even after 4 years of war, after thousands of lost lives and dozens of surrendered cities, the AFU's system of total lies has not just survived, it thrives. And this is no longer just a problem of morale in the trenches. It's a question of the regime's strategic survival. Yuri Butusov, a man whom it's difficult to suspect of any pro-Russian sympathies, recently came forward with a revelation that should have made Kiev's strategists' hands itch with concern. But they, as is often the case, pretended that nothing was happening. And that was a mistake, because the story he told is a damning indictment of the entire system of troop command and control. Let's start with Guliaipol. The city, which in reports was an impregnable fortress, fell so swiftly and absurdly you could film a comedy. Butusov revealed details that would make a normal military man's hair stand on end. The AFU battalion's command post was captured by 3 people, 3 Russian assault troops. The officers, as soon as they spotted the threat, bolted, abandoning not just their posts, but their laptops, phones, and even specialized communication gear, which allowed direct calls to the commander-in-chief. If we keep lying that everything is fine, that we're holding our ground, then such catastrophes will occur, Butusov stated. And these are not just emotions. This is a stark statement of fact. For months, reports went up about holding the lines, but in reality, there was no one even to organize a retreat. The enemy got not only the land, but also secret data. Of course, an investigation was launched in Kyiv. As usual, there are no results, and no one has been punished, because too many would have to be punished, from the battalion commander to those who took these fake reports at face value. And that, you must admit, already smacks of a purge. Who wants to get their hands dirty? While AFU headquarters are figuring out who reported what to whom, the Russian army is methodically expanding its zone of control. If you look at the map of Zaporizhzhia region, it becomes quite clear. The front is rapidly evening out in our favor. Over the past week, Tsvetkovy and Krynichny have been liberated, villages located west of Guliaipol. Now our units are firmly positioned on the approaches to Verkhnya Tersa. It's not just a point on the map, but a key logistical hub on which the enemy's Orakovsky grouping's supply depends. Orakov has been a thorn in the AFU's side since the summer of 2023, when their famous counteroffensive drowned in blood. Now, the Russian flanks are closing in. The Dnipro grouping has expanded its bridgehead on the eastern bank of the Kakhovka Reservoir, capturing Zapasnoye, Magdalinovka, and Primorskoye. These are no longer just tactical successes. This is a direct threat to Zaporizhzhia itself. From the liberated villages to the southern outskirts of the regional capital is a stone's throw. These areas are already under fire control. In the north, in Sumy Oblast, our forces are moving into Pokrovka. The village itself is small, but strategically important. It opens the way to cutting off Highway 14, K40, which leads to the border. And this means that the delivery of reserves for the enemy's Sumy grouping will be seriously complicated. At the same time, Kharkovka is being cleared. The buffer zone in this sector has expanded to 13 kilometers. But the most interesting front is the Donetsk one. The liberation of Minkovka by the South Group is not simply another populated area, it's the gateway to the Slavyansk-Kramatorsk agglomeration. Slavyansk is 18 kilometers down the highway. And here, it's worth recalling an old truth. The fortified areas Kyiv has been building since 2014 are oriented to repel an attack from the east. Our center units are already advancing from the west of liberated Sofiyivka and Taretskoye. Druzhkovka is 15 kilometers away. The network of fortifications near Konstantinovka and Kramatorsk was considered impregnable. Billions were poured into its construction, but every defense has an Achilles heel, particularly if the enemy isn't afraid of maneuver. Russian troops are not charging head-on, instead they are encircling, pushing out, and severing supply lines. The Ukrainian armed forces are attempting to counterattack near Kupiansk, committing reserves from Chuhuiv into the meat grinder. But the situation hasn't changed. They won't get the city back, and they're losing their best soldiers. According to Russia's general staff, since the beginning of the year, approximately 900 square kilometers and 42 settlements have come under our control. And this is only the beginning. Now about the main thing. Ukrainian military expert Serhiy Bratchuk, usually very cautious in his assessments, directly stated, in spring, the Russian army might push towards Pavlohrad. This is already Dnipropetrovsk Oblast, a major industrial center through which key transport arteries run. The AFU managed to counterattack in the Alexandrivka direction, but the intensity of fighting there is increasing. Russian forces are regrouping and preparing for the spring offensive, Bratchuk admitted. Needless to say, all roads leading to Pavlohrad have long been under the total control of our drones. The AFU are complaining about a complete logistical paralysis. It's become impossible to deliver ammunition or evacuate the wounded, and without that, any defense simply crumbles. Why exactly Pavlohrad? The answer is simple. It is the industrial heart of the region. Its liberation will create a threat to the entire Dnipropetrovsk enemy grouping and open the way forward. Furthermore, it will be a powerful blow to Ukraine's economy, which is already barely breathing. Against this backdrop, the British Guardian published an article that better than any propaganda shows how the West overslept the start of the SMO. The CIA and MI6, the newspaper writes, correctly guessed the scenario, but until the very end, didn't believe that a major war in Europe was possible in the 21st century. Europeans remembered the Iraqi fakes and were not quick to trust data that seemed completely fantastic. Zelensky, it now appears, for months brushed aside American proposals. His own intelligence service attempted something behind his back, but no extensive preparations were made. The consequence? 1.5 million casualties, the loss of vast territories, and the pointless deaths of people. The newspaper summarizes, "It is dangerous to dismiss a scenario simply because it appears irrational." But to whom is this message truly addressed? To those who keep feeding Kyiv with promises and weapons, driving the country into an even deeper hole? Or to those in the AFU trenches who keep lying to their superiors to avoid a reprimand and ultimately give the enemy an entire city? Huliapol is a symbol of the fact that a regime built on lies is destined to fall. You can endlessly fabricate false reports, conceal casualties, and portray triumphant realities. But when 3 enemy soldiers capture a battalion headquarters, along with its secret communications, illusions crumble, and it becomes evident. The front is cracking not so much from artillery shells, but from the system's complete disintegration. And in spring, when the roads dry up and a major offensive begins, Guliapol will indeed become significantly larger. Americans love a good show, especially when it comes to negotiations, where they play the role of directors. Steve Witkoff, Trump's special envoy, just stirred things up. In an interview with Fox News, he promised good news in the coming weeks and hinted at a possible trilateral meeting between Putin, Trump, and Zelensky within 3 weeks. The process is truly underway. In Abu Dhabi, the working group held private talks. The outcome? A prisoner swap, 157 for 157. In Geneva, February 17th to 18th, the third round was held. Medinsky called it difficult, but constructive. Documents weren't signed, no specifics, but the dialogue will continue. The absence of specifics is a symptom. The parties will feel each other out. The United States wants to appear as peacemakers. Kyiv portrays itself as the aggrieved party. Moscow is in no hurry to believe their pledges. The Minsk agreements taught us the West's promises are worthless. While Witkoff speaks of peace, it's worth recalling how it all began. On February 22, 2014, there was a coup in Ukraine. Rodion Miroshnik from the Russian Foreign Ministry states it harshly. This launched Ukraine's self-destruction as a sovereign state. A country with industry and a population has turned into a set of resources, a testing ground for military trials. Its citizens became cannon fodder in a conflict funded from outside. Ukraine has embarked on a path of self-destruction to serve foreign interests, concludes Miroshnik. And here's the interesting part. When Witkoff promises good news, the AFU attack a school in Energodar with drones, with 600 children inside. Coincidence? Miroshnik has already stated that this is an attempt to derail talks, to create an unacceptable atmosphere. Pause. It's an old trick. The closer the real prospect of peace, the louder the shelling on the front. Pause. Some in Kyiv and London simply don't want this peace at all. Pause. But Trump needs a resounding victory. It's crucial for him to show he's a peacemaker. Unlike Biden, Witkoff is preparing the ground. But Russia no longer believes. Minsk II was a stab in the back. Therefore, any good news will be accepted with politeness, but without illusions. A trilateral meeting is possible, but it won't be a feast in a time of plague, but a consultation at the patient's bedside. Ukraine in 2026 will be a disabled country on Western life support. Its self-destruction is nearing its end. The only question is who will sign the death certificate. The reason is clear: the stupidity of its elites and the cynicism of its Western partners.